Morning from Israel. I wanted to talk about the process of the Aviv barley as it is happening this year. It's not on the land. Um, and I determined that by the inspection of the barley. In fact, I have one good friend that she's my confidant. I can say anything to her, and she knows I'm just rambling and musing, and she doesn't share information. But I have one really good friend that I've spoken to a lot this year about the very long process of getting to where we are in the biblical calendar, which is the 13th month. Very early on, I was very concerned about the 3 weeks of stalled rain that we had and what it was doing to the land at large. If we had gotten no more rain than we did in the very beginning, we were going to be in a crazy severe drought. And you don't know. You don't know the rain that will come. You don't know what Elohim is going to choose to do. So I've been talking to her about this process we're going through to get to the Aviv from the beginning of the year. And I will tell you, before I went out to um, do the last examination for me of the barley in the checkpoint field, that I did not go check on the flax or check on the wheat. The wheat. I had done that on the February 27th, 28th, when I went out to look at that field. On the way out, I had stopped and checked on the flax. You will see in that video that there was no budding, no blooming flax, nothing other than just the plant. And there was probably some wheat up, but I didn't dig it up because the flax was not in a position to be anywhere close to blooming. When I went out this time, I didn't stop there. Why? Because if I have blooming flax or I can prove the wheat is in whatever condition, it might cause observers bias. I am very, very, very careful with observers bias. Every time, like this year particularly, before I went into the field on the 10th of March, I prayed, Father, make it very clear what your will is. Don't let me go in there and be confused. Don't let me go in there and not know what to do, because I knew this year was going to be a photo finish. I could feel it. That's all I could tell you. I could feel it because of the way the year started, and because of the pause we had, because of what the plants were doing on the earth, which is the next thing I want to talk to you about. I do not require any of this to know when the barley is Aviv. The barley is Aviv when the barley is Aviv. When I can divide it by my fingernail, I can open up that kernel and I can see plenty of starch down in there and no moisture. That's Aviv in my understanding of Exodus 9, 31, and 32, which for me is the litmus test, Exodus 9, 31, and 32. The flax has to be, the Aviv has to be ready, and the flax has to be blooming, and the wheat has to be above the earth, but its fruiting head is not grown up. That's my litmus test. That is what I require. So if that barley is not Aviv, I don't need to look for the other, because the end of the story or goal is barley. This is what I see from the development, from the location we are going towards Aviv, as to what I've observed in previous years, that I don't require, but I always notice, because I can't help but notice, as one who lives in Israel and pays attention really specifically, even more than the rest of my year, what the land is going through, what is the speed of the things that are coming at me. Did the anemones stay on the earth for a short period of time, or have they been on the earth for a long period of time? All of this speaks to us, speaks to me about the timing that we're in, not about what I'm requiring. So this is what I have observed this year. Normally, by the time we get to the season of the Aviv, that window of Aviv, the almond trees are not blooming. the way that they are now. They're still relatively in full bloom in a lot of parts of Israel. The anemones come out circa that same period of time, a little earlier, and they begin to die back. They begin to be at the end of their life cycle just before the flax blooms. So in other words, as the anemones are going out, the flax is coming in. It's been my experience for 10 years. I don't require it. I don't make it part of my process. I am an observer. I report what I see. We still have plenty of anemones on the earth, the red poppies. Normally, when we're in the season of the Aviv and we're keeping Passover in Israel, the citrus trees are in bloom, and there's a gorgeous, gorgeous smell that fills the air when we sit at the table on the night of Passover. Do I require that? No, I don't, but I have noticed it, and that's not happening. Also, there's certain flowers in my personal garden. Like we've been here 5 years, and for 5 years, the calla lilies have been in bloom just as we come up to Passover. That's not happened. I'm not requiring it. I've already looked at the barley. Now I'm sitting here retrospectively telling you what the season on the earth looks like. And then the final point, and the biggest point, is I have never, ever, ever had a year when the barley was Aviv that there was such a lack of presence, general presence of fruiting wild barley with, how do I say this, of wild barley with their fruiting heads standing on the earth. Right now, the fruiting barley is just coming out in many, many, many parts of Israel. The exception to the rule is Bet Shean in that area from about Zermatt to the Jordan Valley checkpoint. That area there is far advanced in a display of barley on the land. The rest of Israel really is just now in this week getting busy bringing out heads of barley in the other areas. So when I look at the fact that I didn't find Aviv barley, which there's always a kerfuffle. This year there has been two kerfuffles. One is one group demanded that I should not look for barley after the first of the year, and then they added non-scriptural clauses because the priests need a week to get ready for themselves, and they needed a week to get the people ready. Non-scriptural clauses. I can't find that written. And then the other kerfuffle was the earlier presentation of Aviv barley in this same field that I looked at. I couldn't find it. It's just that simple, and it's a very simple explanation. It seems this specific field has this. Again, you're talking about somebody who has observed for several years, but it seems like this particular field has the anomaly of bringing early barley, and it gets lost in the later growth. I've seen this happen. This is the second time I've seen this happen in this field specifically, which happens to be where it intersects with the Jezreel Valley and the Jordan Valley Rift. There's always a lot of air. There's always a lot of, wind, and things that are rather different in this area than other areas of the country, which is actually great if you're looking for a microclimate to bring out a early ormer of barley. It can actually be very great, but it's not always going to be great, as I've seen twice now, 2003 and now 2025. That was not a field that I was interested in last year. I didn't check it towards the end of the year to see if it had consumed the earlier barley. So I can't say about in between the years 24, but in 23 and 25, this field, I think, because of its logistics of being in this intersection of Jezreel and Jordan Valley Rift, that there is a propensity here that the early barley can come out, and it's not the one that makes the omer. So I just wanted to clear some of that up for you and give you my thoughts about, no, the barley is not Aviv, but this is what me as an observer I've seen on the earth. And this is also telling me that when I look at the barley not being Aviv, I can look at what has transpired, and it makes sense to me as I've observed the earth develop this year. And the which brings me to the last point that I just will put out there is that that's why I put the disclaimer about not being affiliated or associated with other ministries, because it was a little bit difficult this year with the first group that really thought that they could tell me their regulations and tell me I was screwing up their seventh month if I didn't follow their regulations. People, I love you, but you did not bring me to Israel. You did not create the miracle that brought me here, the absolute miracle that brought me here. It's in my testimony in YouTube if you want to watch it. But I can't follow you. I wasn't brought to follow you when I came to Israel. I was brought to follow Elohim. Elohim had a plan for my life, and I'm trying my level best to be faithful to him, to not be a respecter of persons, like the scripture says. And again, when I start the year and I go into the field, I have a reverent and holy fear of representing as an image bearer of Elohim, of representing him. And it's not even that I think about I do. I think about as we get towards the end of the 12th month or the end of the 11th month, or maybe we have to have a 13th month. That time is stressful for me, not because I'm trying to make myself be honest and be an image bearer, because I also feel you guys getting impatient and feeling like you have to have the need to know ahead of time so that you can make your plans. I feel that. And so I am very respectful towards you guys to tell you as early as I can. This year it wasn't early. Some years it is early. And I'm very honoring and have a holy fear of the one I serve. Speaking to that group that saw the barley in this field that I inspected on the 10th day of March, it's not that I don't believe them that they saw barley that could make Aviv. I don't know the quantity, they didn't express it, but it's not that I don't believe them. I saw the photos, I do believe them. Um, but again, I have to be faithful to witness the truth that I see in the field that came at a later date. And it's interesting. Um, this whole thing that some people did not now believe their witness, it's really interesting because I'll tell you physiologically what happened to the earth while they were here doing their inspection. The rains, the earnest rains of the year, the heavy rains had just begun to fall. And if you followed what I've been doing, they have been falling since they left Israel until even last week. We had tremendous rains. When that happens, that new barley vigorously grows tall, tall blades. And, we have actually quite a few fruiting heads that are in bloom in that field. But that's normal. That's normal. That's what I've seen. It's not that I don't believe them. I 100, 1,000, 2,000% believe what they photographed and what they said. But y'all aren't going to like this because I'm a faith girl. I not only have sight, but I have faith watching this land develop every year and the complete miracle it is when it goes from a dry, dusty desert to looking like Switzerland. It wasn't Elohim's will that that barley would start the year. It's not me, it's Elohim. He decided that that barley would not be the first omer of barley on the land. And guess what, folks? We don't have it yet. It's his will. Okay, I think that's it. Um, all I can say is I probably have different eyes because I'm here pretty much, unless I go visit my family, 12 months out of the year. I pretty much have different eyes than most of the inspectors do. I will say even the Karaite Jews, two of them, I think that Yoel is Karaite, I don't know, but the Jewish people by birth who live here, I even have different eyes than they do. One is a teacher, a Torah teacher, language teacher, linguist, and one works a secular job. I'm retired. I'm an old lady. I have the leisure to fart around. Sorry, I have the leisure to mess around on the land pretty much whenever I want. I don't have any responsibilities that keeps me from watching the land and just having that sense of where we are in the timing. And that's the only difference in what they perceived, the early barley people perceived, and what I have seen. I am an observer of the land. I report what I see. I never forecast. I never look at the current conditions of the earth and say, this is what will be. I will look at the path that we're on and compare it to the barley and say the fact that this has not happened or the fact that we're here in the progression of the land makes sense to me. But I do not prognosticate what will be. Prognosticate is a word that's very important when you read about it in the scripture. So all I can be is me. All I can be is real. All I can be is fearful of Elohim and stay true to what he has called me to do. And that is report, tell you what I see. And this is just a little summary of what I have seen coming into today's date. And there is still no Aviv barley on the earth.